Hello, everyone. I'm gonna take advantage that I'm alone in my hotel room. I travel for work, that's why I'm in a hotel room, and I have a roommate, so I'm gonna take advantage that he's not here. And I'm gonna make a video about my thoughts and opinions on Joann's possibly closing later this year. And I got lots of opinions, views, stories, and I'm just gonna talk. So, as many of you may know or may not know, Joann's, a major fabric store here in the United States, has filed for bankruptcy last year. And this year, if they don't have a buyer by March, I think, they're gonna close all their stores. And by the looks of it, I think that's what's gonna happen anyways, because the current buyer is known for buying failing business and liquidating them. So it's not looking good for Miss Joann. Now, let me give you a little bit background about myself. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sammy. I am a puppeteer. I'm also a wardrobe assistant. I also sew. I make costumes. I make clothing. I mend clothes. I work with a lot of fabrics and textiles and costumes and stuff like that throughout my whole life. And as someone that has been going to fabric stores since a very young age, Joann's has always been there for the good and the bad. And how do I feel about Joann's closing? I'm going to be 100% honest with you. On one side, I feel I feel happy, not gonna lie. I feel happy because I feel like I had more negative experiences at Joann's than positive, especially after working professionally in the fabric costuming industry and knowing like the real price of fabrics and how this business works, and knowing that Joann's is, taking advantage of people who don't know better. I'm happy that they're closing. I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. On the other hand, I feel sad that they're closing because Joann's and Hobby Lobby are basically the only two major fabric stores out there. And you can argue, well, Michaels a few years ago started selling fabric. Yeah, but when you need fabric, you think of Joann's. You think of Hobby Lobby. And I know that Hobby Lobby is very controversial to some of you. I'm not here to argue about that. I'm just going to talk about Hobby Lobby as a fabric store. Whatever personal feelings you have, set them aside. And I'm sad because Joann's has been like the number one fabric supplier for a lot of craftspeople, a lot of quilters, a lot of people that just make crafts. For example, myself, when I started making puppets, Joann's was like the number one place to go. And it's like losing that accessibility to this art of fabric. And here's the thing: I know that Joann's also sells yarn, it sells frames, it sells necklaces and beads and stuff like that. But when I think of Joann's, I think of the fabric store Joann's. I don't think of the craft store, the yarn, the bead store Joann's. So I'm gonna mainly be talking about the fabric side of Joann's. um so yeah, I'm divided because on one hand I'm happy that they're closing, on the other hand it's terrible that they're closing. um Let me also say that I feel sorry for all the employees of Joann's, because I know losing a job, especially in today's age where a job is crucial and finding a job is also difficult. I feel so sorry for those employees, and I hope that when the process of finding a new job is easy, quick, and even higher paying than Joann's. So my heart goes out to all the employees over there. Um, so when I started making puppets back in 2008, 2009, 2008, I think, um, I didn't know much about fabric. I didn't know much about sewing, and the way I learned was by trial and error and whatever information I can find on the internet. Yes, around 2008, YouTube was a thing, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. And also, I was specifically looking to build puppets. And especially in 2008, there was little to no information on how to build puppets except on Muppet Central forums. And there was a how-to video from some channel, I think it's still up, on how to make a puppet, but it was like the basic. Swassel had like the little blog about building puppets, and then the only thing that really taught you how to make a puppet back then was projectpuppet.com, which I highly recommend. Hold on, I need to blow my nose. Guys, the changing in weather has been messing up with my sinuses, so sorry. And I don't want to pause the video and continue filming. Also, I don't want to edit this video. I just want to upload it as it is. So when I started making puppets, I had very limited resources and information. And whenever I needed to make puppets and needed to buy fabrics, my only two options were Joann's and Hobby Lobby. But mainly Joann's, because Joann's was the closest fabric shop to where I used to live back in Georgia, and Hobby Lobby was literally like a 30 or 40-minute drive. And I was a teenager. I didn't have a driver's license, so if I needed to go to the fabric store, it had to be my mom or my neighbor if she felt generous enough. And I remember when I was first starting shopping at Joann's, and mind you, this is circa 2008, 2009. I always had issues with their prices, because like there'll be like a price, or like it'll say it's on sale on the shelf. I'll get the fleas because I mainly use fleas for the puppets, and then I'll go over to the register, and turns out it's not on sale. It turns out it's actually more expensive. And that's always been an issue with Joann's. Always been an issue. And that always left like a very sour taste in my mouth about Joann's, because I already knew from the start that if I was shopping at Joann's, I have to be very careful what I selected, because the price on the shelf or the advertisement sometimes would not match the register. And if you shopped at Joann's long enough, you know that's true. But I always found myself going to Hobby Lobby more for my puppet supplies, because Hobby Lobby was like just easier to navigate. And back then they had that 40% off coupon, which Hobby Lobby, I'm still mad at you for taking away that 40% off coupon. Like, how dare you? But anyways, what I'm trying to say is I've been shopping at Joann's for years, and then when I moved to Texas, there was a different fabric store called Hancock Fabrics, and in my opinion, Hancock Fabrics was far superior than Joann's and Hobby Lobby. Like, if I needed to get fabric, I will go to Hancock first, and then I will go to Joann's or Hobby Lobby. But then in 2016, almost 10 years ago, Hancock Fabrics, shut down and liquidated their stores. And I'm still mourning that, because when I tell you that Hancock Fabrics was far superior than Joann's and Hobby Lobby, I miss it. I really do. I don't know where I'm going with this, but going back to Joann's, something that always annoyed me about Joann's is that most of their stores, especially the fabric section, is almost never organized. Like, there'll be like random bolts of fabric clearly where don't belong. And then a few years ago, even almost, I will even say even almost 10 years ago at this point, they finally started selling products for cosplayers, because cosplay, is becoming, more and more popular. But Joann's started selling all these fancy fabrics that nobody really needed. And instead of carrying like basic fabrics, or standard fabrics, in my opinion, or very common fabrics. No, they'll carry all these like fancy cosplay, these fancy bridal fabrics that are super duper specific for a project, and then they'll hike up the price. And let me give you an example. One of my frustrations with Joann's is that they don't carry a lot of the basic fabrics. For example, satin. If I need like just your basic polyester satin, I have to go to Hobby Lobby, because Hobby Lobby has a great selection of satin in many different colors. And Joann's, I can't I can't find satin there. And if I find satin, it's like the very cheap, thin, Party City Chinese costume type satin. I'm like, that no. And and that's one of the things that bothers me about Joann's, because Joann's is definitely the definition that quantity doesn't equal quality. They have so many different fabrics, so many different options, and yet they have nothing. They don't have anything. And more about me. Throughout my career in sewing, I stopped making puppets as much. I still make puppets, but not as much when I was younger. And I started making clothing. I started making costumes. I started making mascots that require a lot of performance fabrics. And Joann's doesn't carry that many like costumey fabrics, and if they do, is either not the right quality or is super expensive. And something that also Joann's does is that they have a lot of basic cotton prints, a lot of fleeces. And so they also cater for the quilters and the people that make the blankets and the baby clothes with the fleeces and the flannels and all the different cotton prints for all the quilters. And that's amazing. But not everybody that sews is a quilter. Not everybody, let me repeat that. Not everybody that sews is a quilter. I'm not shitting on the quilters. I'm not. But it's like, you think of sewing, and the first thing you'll find is like so many cotton fabrics. And yes, I can make clothes out of cotton, but I can't really, if you sew, you know what I mean. It's like, I need more options than this. I need more options. It's just like printed and licensed cotton prints and stuff like that. One time in 2013, I got kicked out of a Joann store for testing one of their sewing machines on the floor. Yeah, because it was an old lady and she thought I was playing with the machine. I'm like, no, I want to purchase this machine. At the time, I think I was 18. I was 18 years old. And, there's always this stereotype that only older women sew and young guys don't, men don't sew. I'm like, girl, go to the Hollywood industry. You'll see how many men sew over there. But yeah, that was fun, getting kicked out of Joann's. That lady doesn't work there anymore. That lady's probably dead, because that happened like over 11 years ago. But it's experiences like that that leave a bitter taste in my mouth from Joann's. But on the other hand, Joann's have been reliable with other things. Like, for example, for a lot of my costumes, I use utility fabric for my lining. And Joann's is like the only place that sells utility fabric. And utility fabric is like this very stiff polyester tablecloth outdoor fabric almost. And I use it for a lot of my linings. And Joann's is the only one that sells them. I even tried looking at online, and it's very difficult for me to find it. Joann's has been there for, I also use broadcloth for lining. There's that. There's also zippers, snaps, and buttons, because they have a way bigger button selection than Hobby Lobby. But also, like, their buttons are overpriced. They're overpriced. And that brings me to another point, is that Joann's will purchase, like any wholesaler, they will purchase an item and just like raise the price through the roof. And yet, when you're in the sewing industry, you realize that there's not that many sewing brands when it comes to like not utensils but tools. man, notions, that's the word I was looking for. There's not that many brands that make sewing notions. It's usually like the same ones that you'll see it at any place that sells fabrics and stuff. The main one being Dritz. and and what gets me about Joann is, like, for example, a brand with like Dritz, it's like the most basic sewing notion brand out there. It's like your standard, and yet Joann's will buy Dritz products and then upscale the price for Dritz. It's like saying you're buying great value and then you're reselling it for twice as much or three times as much, even though it's great value. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the same thing with Dritz. And not only that, I think it was last year, Joann's completely stopped selling Dritz products and they replaced it with a different brand, and they're still keeping the same price. And nobody has heard of this brand. And what a lot of people think about this new brand, I don't even know the name of it. It's probably like a cheaper or less expensive brand than Dritz. And mind you, Dritz is already pretty inexpensive if you buy at the right place. So they're buying a cheaper product and selling it as the same marked up price as Dritz. It's like, uh, and sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place, but also, as someone that has been to the LA fashion district where they have the whole, the blocks and blocks of fabric stores, as someone that's been to the New York fashion district, the fabric district, as somebody that has bought fabrics from different sources online, and then having worked at these places and seeing where they gather, where they source the fabric, and seeing Joann's mark up the prices and creating scarcity, like there's not a lot of it, even though there is. That's how I feel about it. It's just like, why would I go to Joann's to buy this fabric when I know I can go to this place and it's the same exact thing? It's cheaper. And it hurts me because sewing is such a beautiful skill, and I want more people to learn how to sew, because a lot of people feel intimidated by sewing, and I still feel intimidated by sewing, even though I do that job now professionally. Still intimidated, but I want it to be accessible for people. I want people to learn and discover that it's not that hard to sew. I mean, it is, but you need to get the ball rolling. But now, losing Joann's is gonna hurt that community, even though Joann's is not innocent. Again, because of the prices and not honoring coupons and stuff like that. And then you might think, well, Sammy, then you can just go to your local fabric store, or just continue going to Hobby Lobby. Yes, I do love Hobby Lobby. Again, I know a lot of people have strong feelings about Hobby Lobby, but Hobby Lobby doesn't sell everything when sewing. The few things they sell for sewing are great. And that's what I love. I think that's a very good comparison to Joann's, where Joann's is like, they have the quantity, but they don't have the quality. And then Hobby Lobby, they don't have the quantity, but they have the quality. Hopefully that makes sense, because that's the best way I can describe it. Hobby Lobby doesn't have that many options when it comes to fabrics and notions and stuff like that. But the few things they do have are good. And yes, I would still be going to Hobby Lobby to get my sewing needs, but I can't get everything at Hobby Lobby. It's gonna get annoying buying fabrics online, even though I already do that. But that means that I'll have to pay shipping and wait for the fabric to actually arrive. And you might be thinking, well, Sammy, just go to like local fabric shops. Here's the thing. I currently live in Florida. For now, I might be moving out of Florida soon, but in Florida, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really explored different fabric shops in Florida, because I just haven't. But in Texas, where I'm also from, in Texas, I've explored several local mom and pop fabric shops, and I need to tell you that A lot of the fabric shops, at least in my hometown of Texas, it's all about quilting. I can't really go to those places and buy spandex, or I can't buy mesh. I can't buy all these products to make costumes. And that's the issue where at least the type of sewing that I do is not available at your average fabric store, because again, your average fabric store is just going to cater to the quilters and the fleecers, and that's it. I'm gonna start wrapping up the video because I feel like I'm just rambling on. I throughout my whole uh, time going to Joann since 2008 till present, I had a lot of good times over there. I had a lot of bad times over there. Um, really, and then again, I'm not trying to say that I'm better than anyone or that I know the industry secret, because I don't. But having learned more about sewing and learning more about fabric districts and having friends in the industry and knowing how this industry kind of works, and then you look at Joann's and you're like, yeah, that's probably not the best place to go to. But then again, it's losing accessibility to sewing. It's losing the place where you can get a zipper when you need one immediately. Because now, if you need a zipper, you have to order it online. It's losing the place. Oh, another thing is Joann sells foam. Oh, how can I forget about this? In the puppet industry, a lot of the puppets professionally, they're made out of Scott foam or reticulated foam, where you have to buy it online. But a very accessible and affordable way to foam is polyester foam that Joann sells. Especially, they have the half-inch foam, and if you're a puppet builder, you know how amazing it is to work with half-inch foam. And now puppeteers are going to be losing that accessibility to half-inch foam from Joann's. That iconic, Squidward blue-green foam that Joann sells, that's been helping puppet builders for years, is going to be gone. What would I do to save Joann's? What would I do to save Joann's? First of all, I will get rid of all the novelty fabrics. Like all of these stupid cosplay fabrics that nobody needs. All these stupid beaded bridal fabrics that, again, no one really needs or is asking for. I will just carry a very strong selection of the basics. Like, for example, satins. Like Hobby Lobby, like Joann's. Your satin selection is horrible. Just putting that out there. I will give more options, like your basic spandex, stuff like that. And also lowering the prices. Lower the prices, Joann's, because the economy is rough. I can't afford to pay $20 a yard for something. I can't afford to pay $7 for a zipper when I can get it cheaper online. Lower the price, but also don't lower the quality of the product like you did with Dritz. You took out Dritz and replaced it with a cheaper product but kept the same price. Don't do that, Joann's. Your buttons, sometimes I just need two buttons, and then a little packet of the two buttons will cost $6. I'm like, Joann's, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous, Joann's. And then you're wondering why you're going out of business. You're wondering why you're failing. Joann's, look at me. I know that nobody from corporate is watching this because they're probably jumping ship right now. But Joann's, look at me. Carry basic fabrics like satins, polyesters, spandex, stuff like that. Don't carry none of that cosplay shit. Trust me, nobody's asking for that. Lower your prices. Lower them. Your coupons. Honor them. Because you know how many times I bought an item at regular price and then I go to your register and the coupon doesn't work? Honor your coupons. Don't lower the quality of products, okay? Don't replace good products with inferior products and keep the same price. Let's not do that. Let's go, learn from Hobby Lobby. Let's do quality over quantity, all right? Also, not everybody that goes to Joann's is quilters. So maybe, I'm not saying, don't cater to quilters, but just keep in mind that if I'm going to if I'm going to Joann's, I'm probably either gonna be making a puppet or making a dress or making a costume. I'm not gonna be making a quilt. So keep your options open. Don't kick men out of the sewing department for testing the sewing machines. Don't do that. Lower your prices, make them affordable. Again, because let's say I need two buttons, and I need the little pack of two buttons. I can't pay $6 for two buttons. That's ridiculous. Even paying $2 for two buttons is ridiculous. So why let's pretend this is buttons. So why are we charging $6 for a packet of two buttons when it's literally all melted plastic? Keep your inventory up, because sometimes I'm looking for a specific notion, a specific fabric, and it's out of stock. That's my advice for Joann's. And this, hopefully, if you stuck around, this long, I love you. Let me know your personal opinions of Joann's. I feel like I'm just ranting and babbling about Joann's, but anyways, that's how I feel about Joann's. I'm happy that they're closing because, they have a lot of shady businesses. But at the same time, it sucks for the sewing community. It sucks for us that, yeah. And let's see what happens. Also, sorry, I gotta blow my nose. Follow me on my Instagrams. Link in the thingy below. If you're interested of learning where I buy my fabrics online, where I buy notions online, if you're interested about, advice on sewing, I have my Instagram below. Send me a DM and I'll happily help you out. If you're really interested to know the websites that I use to buy fabrics, let me know. I'll post them. But anyways, that's it. This is my old man Joann rant, and see you next time. Bye-bye.